Hello everyone, you join me back at the International, I always say International, it's not the International, is it? It's the Intergalactic, that's the word, Aerospace Expo. It is day 3, not day 2. I kind of skipped over day 2 because I was busy yesterday. However, CIG have done this nice thing again where they're rolling over the halls so that the halls last 48 hours and not 24. So you can visit the previous day's hall, which I think is quite cool. Day 2 was Origin, as you can see, with the spinning logos in front of me. And we're going to go and look around there first. Origin is blatantly going to be one of my favourite days because I'm a big Origin person. I love my 890 and I'm almost tempted to upgrade my Hercules C2 that I have into the 600i because of the rework, just to sort of round off my Origin fleet nicely. And there was some cool paints released for the 600i as well that we might have a look at. I've picked the silvery one that makes the Origin ships look very MISC-like because of the bare shiny metal. So we may have a look at that as well. But it is also the day of Aegis, however you want to pronounce it. That is day 3's ships, so there's going to be tons of ships on that floor because they have many ships in game. So we're going to go around and have a look at them. We have adverts for Origin ships. Advert for the 890 when this was made. If you haven't seen the original ship videos, you should go and look around and have a look at them. It's not a ship; it's a lifestyle. Origin, or rather, the 890 jump. The giant space yacht, which, as we can see when we run up the ramp here. Oh, I like the star effect. I missed that last time. As we run up the giant ramp here, you can see the gigantic business end of an 890 jump poking out through the top. And yeah, I love this thing. I am actually going to turn my in-game volume down a bit, I think, because it kind of overpowers my mic. There we go, so we'll whip that down a tad. And you can see, obviously, we have some fantastic Origin ships. I love this sort of thing. I love my Origin spaceships. Obviously, this is not my Black Star, which is the name of my 890. This is just an 890. And as before, you can run up to these ships and rent them. The servers are behaving themselves much better, thankfully. They seem to have stabilised a bit. And yes, you can rent these for 24 hours. And on the left here, we have the 600i. Like I said, I'm very tempted to convert my Hercules into one of these. This ship, so far, not even the 890. So far, the 600i is the only ship in the game that made me want to buy a concept because I loved the design of this thing so much. And I still do. This is a touring one. This isn't the exploration one. It would be the exploration one that I was getting. And it was the exploration one I did buy. But yeah, the concept of the ship, I loved it so much. And it was still a great ship, and it still advertised Origin's like design philosophy on how CIG's design teams are doing Origin ships, but it was still a bit disappointing because it had a lot of wasted space. Thankfully, they have heard that criticism and they are now in the middle of a rework. There was a grey box shown. I'm not sure if it was on Star Citizen Live or whether it was on one of the other live streams. But yeah, they showed us basically a grey box rework of both the touring and the exploration, which will utilise all of the space so much better. So this is like the original hotness that I'm very tempted to pick up again. We shall see. What else have we got? Let's have a look at the map, shall we? Okay, stepping in, you can see we've got some things on the main floor. So we've got the 100 series underneath the 890, which we're going to go and have a look at the second. And as opposed to day 1, everything is on the right-hand side of the hall at the back. So we'll go and have a look. And then underneath we've got, I'm guessing they're going to be holograms for Origin's ground vehicles, which we still don't have, unfortunately, because I'm still very much looking forward to an X1 and the G12 Rover. When you bought a, I can't remember if it was an 890 or a 600i, it may have been both, you're supposed to get a G12 Rover, kind of like you get an Ursa with the Constellations, or some of the Constellations anyway. There's also the M50 and the 85X down there, so we'll go around and have a look at them all. Right then, so first shifting our attention over to the right-hand side of the 890, or the 890's left, if you're looking from the ship, we have the 100 series, and I love these things, not just because they're Origin, but these are my sort of go-to ships for hopping around and doing things. They're like my little shuttle if I'm not using I've had a brain fart, the one that comes in the Carrack. I can't remember the name of it. The Pisces, that's it. Oh my god, I've had a long weekend. Yes, the Pisces. Got there in the end. So yeah, if I'm not using a Pisces, I'm using one of these. The reason is because when I'm doing my bunker runs or I'm looking at shipwrecks and things like that, these have a bed in them, as you can see. So you can use a bed and just do a quick server log and get onto another server where there might be a fresh bunker. If you see my bunker videos or my going to the abandoned outpost videos, then you'll know I use these things a lot. And I tend to use the 135C because it's the cargo variant. So if you do bring stuff back, and by some miracle you do fill the ship's interior cargo space, then this is the one that has the most of it, because it is the cargo variant. Over there, the black one was the fighter. That said, I'm not much of a dogfighter, so I've never really seen if that thing performs well. From what I've seen, people tend to use other starter ships like the Avenger if you want to do them for combat, because the Avenger has bigger guns, basically. And then this one is the standard fare, that's the cheapest, and this one is very much Origins starter ship, as we saw with Drake's Cutter on day one. So if you're buying a new game package and you're just getting into the game, this ship is the sort of thing. If you want an Origin ship and you want the sort of markety looking one. And as I said, I do love these things. This one's got the little... Has this one got the cargo space in the back? It's hard to tell. Normally these things open and there's a little bit of cargo space. Yeah, so you can see there's a little bit of interior cargo space in there for some boxes if you're doing box missions. And there's a bed if you want to do server hopping or you want to stop and log out somewhere when we get more persistence, as you can see. So that's those. I didn't mention it in day one, but if you go around the outside of the halls, if you've been to these before, you know that they have all these sorts of engine components and things, and I think there's weapons on the other side as well. But you can go up to these and you can purchase them. You can't rent these, you actually have to buy them with the in-game credits, so keep that in mind. Don't just go up to them and go click, and you think, you know, oh, I've suddenly got no money left because I've bought one of these things. You will lose all your money. So we're going to the next hall, and this is where the 300 series is hiding, I believe. Here we are, and in this hall we have the 300 and the 400 series. So the 300 series used to be Origins kind of starter ship until it got upgrades and it got redesigned, and it looks a whole lot better than when it did to begin with. These are Origins' next sort of step up if you're buying yourself a ship. These things have a little bit more room in them, they're a bit more roomy. That you can customize these, so on the website if you purchase one of these new, you can add like bits of internal flair, like coffee machines and like radios and silly things like that. Just cool little flary bits. And there's like different paint jobs you can choose as well when you purchase them, as opposed to buying skins afterwards, after the fact. 4 flavours to choose from. You have the bog standard one, which is just the ship. It's just a basic hull with a basic loadout. The 315p, which is the Explorer. So that one's like a, it says Explorer, but I think its actual category is Pathfinder, because it's meant for like going on the front line and finding new routes and things. You have the 325A, which is the combat one, or more specifically I believe it's an interceptor. So pretty quick and designed to go and catch ships. And then you have the 350R, which is the racing one, which it never made much sense to me after they redid them, because it's very big and bulky for a racing ship, but people still use it. So, and then we have the 400i in the centre. Now this 400i looks good, don't get me wrong, it's an Origin ship and I like it, but I kind of have a love-hate relationship with it. When I had it, when it came out, I upgraded my Mercury Star Runner that I have to it. And I flew around in it, and then I kind of discovered that I don't actually like the 400i very much. For some people, it's their dream ship, and I can understand why. It has a very cool sort of Star Warsy vibe to it. But for me, I think I'm too kind of spoilt by the abundance of space and such in my 890, and the 400i and everything in it just kind of felt cramped to me for an Origin ship. Like, because of its long nose, there isn't a lot of space, and it's meant to hide a bike. Like, you can shove a Nox or a Dragonfly in the nose. It's meant to be the X1, which is Origin's bike, that goes in there, but as I said, we don't have that yet. But yeah, I ended up actually rolling back the upgrade by contacting CIG, and I rolled it back by Mercury Star Runner, which is a little bit more useful. So my Mercury Star Runner may be becoming something else in the future. I do like my MSR, but I have other ship likes as well, so we'll see where that goes. The only reason I haven't upgraded my MSR just yet is because I have the Night Runner skin, and I really like applying that skin to that ship because it's a fucking awesome skin, to be honest. Right, let's go downstairs and have a look at the other offerings underneath. God, just running back through the main hall, you know, I'm so used to flying my 890 that you do just forget how absolutely bloody big it is. Like taking up the entire space of one of these halls. When you're running around inside it, because of the corridors and things inside it, it doesn't feel that big. But when you're stood underneath it and moving around, it's fucking huge. So it's a capital ship at the end of the day. It has capital class shields and things like that on it. You kind of forget that when you're blasting around in it, until you try and sort of steer in it, and then you remember how big it is. Okay, spiralling down into the basement. We have one of my other favourite ships in the game. One of these I have as well. This is an M50. This is Origin's racing ship, although technically it's an interceptor as well, so it's meant for that role because it's very bloody quick. Fantastic in atmospheric flight. I love flying these things. If we get a sort of VR sort of feel to Star Citizen, we get that ability, this is the sort of ship I'm going to be blasting around in VR because I absolutely love this thing. Even when that had a little rework and they redid the cockpit. And then swinging over to the other side is another Origin ship I'm intimately familiar with, is the 85X. I call this one more often than not the Space BMW, or like some people call it the Space Bugatti, because it's essentially a little taxi. So these things are just two-person, so you can get in side by side like a car, and you fly around in these things like a little shuttle. They're essentially like an executive transport, and if you bought an 890 Jump, you get one of these with it as well. So one of these for your hangar bay. So that's what they are. You'd park the 890 in orbit, and then you go down to the planet in your 85X, because the 890 is a pain in the bum to land on the surface of planets. And swinging around. So there's two rooms here. I think they're separated by that thing in the middle. Yeah, so this is the G12. This is what Origin's rover is eventually going to look like, but we don't have one of these yet. That looks like some kind of combat variant because it's got missiles on the top. But yeah, eventually this is what's going to be Origin's Ursa rover when they finally put them in game, and I'm looking forward to these. I'm not sure if I get one of these for free because of the ships that I do own, but we shall see. And then moving around this big panel in the middle, this is the X1, which is Origin's hoverbike. It looks kind of like a pistol from this angle, but you get in this end here, so you're facing this way. And yeah, it's Origin's answer to the Nox and the Dragonfly, and these are very much meant to be like racers, as much as they are personal transports. So that kind of looks sort of up to life size, so if that's as big as they're going to be, they do look pretty chonky. But again, really looking forward to that one. Right, that in essence is Origin. So we're going to go back in the lift and we're going to go to the other hall for today's offering, which is Aegis, however I wish to pronounce it. And we're going to go and see what they got. That will have a lot of ships because there is a lot of those ships in game. So let's go and see what they've got to offer. Okay, here we are in the Aegis hall. And we're going to go and have a look upstairs. This looks like an advert for one of the, I think this is for the Eclipse, if I remember right. Yep, coming in to bomb the Idris over there. And moving up the hall, we can see that this is instantly dominated by the Reclaimer. Of course, it's going to be another ship that I really, really like. And I'm really, really looking forward to the salvaging operations available with it that will come before too long. Once we've had the Vulture's salvaging capabilities added into the game, we might finally get to use this massive claw. T-posing NPC in the middle of the floor there. So, yeah, what have we got? So, this is going to be many, 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 many ships. Let's have a look at the map quickly. All these NPCs in the way. Move out of the way, people. So, you can see in the middle, we've got the Reclaimers and the Sabres. Off to the left, we've got the Vanguards. Off to the right, we've got the Avengers. Down to the bottom right, we've got the Gladiuses and a Hammerhead poking away in the corner. And in the bottom left, we've got the Bombers. So, do we have things on the floor underneath? Yeah, the Nautilus and the Vulcan. So, two ships that haven't been completed yet. They're still in concept. Or grey box, white box, however you want to put it. So, Reclaimer. Reclaimer, obviously, massive, massive alien-inspired ship. Very much like the Nostradamus. I love this thing. It's just even more of a pain in the bum to get off the surface of a planet than an 890 is. It takes a bit of time and uses a lot of fuel, so this thing is very much meant to be for things like moons and low gravity areas. And tearing apart big hulks is what it's going to be for. Next to race we have the Sabres. Very cool combat ships. I do love the Sabre Comet. Back when these scatter guns were sort of the best things to use in combat, I used to love dogfighting with this thing. They've kind of been balanced a bit more, shall we say now. We shall dip off to this side. I can't remember what was on the map now. Somebody else already running in here. It's the bombers. Or one of the bombers, and then one of them maybe not bombers, but it is a bomber at the minute. So this is the Eclipse. Amazing, amazing, amazing bomber. Obviously made to look kind of like a B-2 Spirit, but a bit smaller. And yeah, I do love flying this thing in the incursions that come into the system, the Xenothreat. Easy way to make money if you're flinging bombs at the capital ships. And the same is said for this here, the Retaliator. This thing's going to feature heavily in Squadron 42 when we eventually get it. As you can see, it's already got the 42 on the side. But yeah, this one is a bomber loadout by default, but the idea of this thing is that it has different components and like inside areas that you can switch around depending on what task you want to use it for. But at the minute in game, it's just basically a big bomber. So with the Eclipse, you get 3 size 9 torpedoes, and then, if I remember right, with the Retaliator, you get 9. So both of them are very fun to use in Xenothreat when you're fighting the capital ships. Like I said, it's a very easy way to make money, because you get loads of money for torpedo strikes on the capital ships, and other ships, but obviously striking the Idris and... well, we don't fight a Javelin, do we? Fighting the Idrises, the Idris-I, plural, gets you lots of money with those. As we move into Hall 5, we have the Vanguard family. These come in all sorts of different flavours, and I can never remember which one each one does. That really doesn't make sense. I'm not making sense. Oh God, it's been a long weekend. There's lots of these things, and they all do different things. So, like I know the blue one is always an E-War one. So this one is the Sentinel, yes, and this one's got an EMP in it. This one, the Warden, I believe, is basically like the combat one. So that one's going to have the big guns. There's the Hoplite, which is the dropship one. Which I think is that one at the back there. Yep. And then there's the Harbinger. Maybe this is the more warshipy one, hence the giant gun on the nose. So yeah, they very, very, very good ships to use in combat. So if you're looking for an all-round combat ship that's a bit more aggressive and can hold its own really, really well and is still manoeuvrable, plus if you've got an extra person to fling in the turret, these things are great to use, especially if you're doing like PvE missions and stuff. Vanguards just peel things apart, so very highly recommended. I'm going to have my character run across the hall now, and not skipping leg day today because you have to sprint under the Reclaimer to get there. Again, much like the 890, you're sort of reminded how big these things are. If you're new to the game, I would very, very much look up either videos or tutorials. I know I have one about finding the Reclaimer wreck that's crashed on the surface of Microtech. I think it's called Ghost Hollow, if I remember, if you get the mission for it. It's just a Reclaimer that decided to lawn dart in a forest in Microtech, and lots and lots of NPCs there to shoot, and potentially other players if they're looting it, because it does drop loot, and you can get missions to go there and clear it out or find boxes. Oh, look at the hologram inside. I've not seen that before. There's a little hologram of a Hercules weaving and some ships chasing it. That's a Corsair. There was another one a second ago shooting at it. Oh, there it is. That's a Scorpius. That's so cool. Then we move into another hall, and we have the Gladius, or the Gladii. So there's 2 of these. And then we have the giant hammerhead corvette hiding at the back. So, on this left-hand side, we've got the Gladius, and the Gladius is going to be the mainstay of Squadron 42. If you know anything about Star Citizen, then I really don't need to introduce the Gladius to you. It's a big dogfighter, very, very fun to use, very, very fun to fly. The Gladius is at gold standard for many of the ships that are in this game. It has lots of different buttons and features and things like that on it. So it has like gun racks, if I can access them without trying to rent the ship. So weapon access, there we go. So you have gun racks where you can store rifles. It has component storage things, so you can hit here and then you get the internal storage like you do on other ships. See, there's a little storage cubby. It has fuel ports and things like that around the back end now, showing, if I remember right. So fuel access, and so you can open this to refuel the ship if you need to. So yeah, this ship has lots and lots and lots of detailing. Meant to be the mainstay, of course. The main ship you will fly in Squadron 42, I imagine, until you get up to the grand sparkly one that Henry Cavill's character flies. So yeah, these things are awesome to fly, great fun, and just a general great ship if your focus playing this game is lots of dogfighting. Of course, it is a fighter, so does not have an infinite fuel drive. If you're looking to travel around star systems, especially when we get the bigger one like Pyro, you will need another ship to transport it, or you will need just another ship in general. Something to keep in mind if you buy it as a game package. Over on this side we have a Gladius Valiant, which is a variant, much like the Sabre Comet was in the other hall. This thing has more or less the same sort of, features and greebles and gold standardy stuff. It just has a different loadout of weaponry. So the Valiant and the Comet, and there's a Avenger I'm sure we'll get to in a minute, where they were all based on the lore behind them in game, is that they were based on famous figures throughout the UEE Navy who had their loadouts as such. So they get different loadouts as default based on those characters. I thought they were boxes that people had dropped for a second there. And then in the back we have the giant Hammerhead Corvette. So this thing is a big gunship. Essentially, you'll see lots of these during Xenothreat, if you do Xenothreat, and other piratey activities. Lots and lots of turrets in these. 2 on each side, as you can see. 1 on the bottom, 1 on the top, and 1 at the back. So this thing is just a flying massive gunship and what's going inside it. These are great fun. This is one of 2 ships in game that can dock to stations, so the other being the 890 jump. However, there is a bug in this patch that you should be aware of if you do rent either this or the 890, that was found in the PTU and carried over to live because it wasn't fixed, where you undock from the station and then your ship basically just becomes a brick and it becomes unresponsive and you can't do anything in it. So be aware if you dock them to stations, or should I say if you undock them from a station. So yeah, something to keep in mind. And the final haul as we round the corner for Aegis Day, we have all of the Avengers and we have the Redeemer, which is a very, very popular ship amongst the Star Citizen community. So all of the Avengers, the great penguins, if you know them. If you are looking to get into the game and you've not played it before, especially after you've done a free flight and you're looking to pick up a ship, if you can't decide which ship to get because you're sort of choosing a preference, myself and so many people of the Star Citizen community will always recommend an Aegis Avenger Titan to use. So we call it the Penguin because of its looks, but basically you get a big size 3 gun on the front and then you can change the loadouts of all of them. It has a bed inside, it has internal space, so you've got a little cargo bay if you want to do some cargo running as well. As you can see, if we just hop through quickly, you've got a bed and then you've got your cockpit up front and you've got all your greebles inside and your storage. So these things are an incredible starship, great all-rounder to start the game if you are new. And there is different ones to choose from, but the Titan is sort of your standard fare that has a little bit of everything. Well, this one is the Stalker, so this one is the bounty hunting variant, is that right? Yes, because it's got like little prison cells in the back to store your bounties in. So these things are open and you can put people inside them and hold them captive, at least that's the idea. Much like the Hawk, I imagine we'll see that on Anvil Day. The one with the EMP in it, I think is the Warlock, is that right? Quick. Yes, the Warlock. So this is the same as the other 2, different loadout. And in the back you don't so much have storage because you've got a giant tumble dryer. Actually what this is an EMP. So just like the Sentinel that we saw earlier on, you can fire off an EMP, discharge it, and then disable your enemy shields for a while. And the last one, as I said a moment ago, with the different loadouts, this is the Titan, so same as the beginner one over there, but this is the Titan Renegade. It comes with a different default paint job, which we can't quite see up close. If we take a step back, maybe we can, but it's blue and yellow, as you can see. And it just has a different loadout. So you still get the size 3 cannon on the front, which you can change if you want to. And then it basically has these ballistic guns on the front as opposed to lasers, and a different missile loadout. So basic default paint job change and a different loadout change. And then inside it's essentially the same. So those are the Avengers. Like I said, one of the very, very highly recommended starter ships in the game if you don't know what to pick or something else doesn't tickle your fancy. But in the middle we have the Redeemer, and the community waited so long for this thing. This thing, much like the Hammerhead that we saw in the other hall, is a gunship. So you can see it has the pilot there who can control these things, and then you have 2 turret gunners, one up top and one down bottom, with these ridiculously oversized pieces of hardware to fill your enemy full of pain. The pilot's got these as well. Can it even be a dropship? I can't remember if it can drop troops. I don't think it can it? So yeah, this is a very much just a big gunship. I've not really spent much time in one of these, but I know they are very much well loved. So you can see you got a lift going up. That person just vanished. How did he do that? Beds. So 4 crew, and then a lift going up. Can't remember what this was for. I think that was for that door, wasn't it? And then you have a minibar. So it's one of the few ships that has a functioning minibar, because you can grab beers out of it. And then access to all the turrets and things upstairs. Toilet, sink. Little cargo area, so tiny piece of cargo space. But yeah, mainly designed as a very well travelled gunship. So like I said, I've not spent much time on these. It does look incredible up top with those these like gravity generator things that it's got inside of it. I'm not going to spoil the view because I want you to come and look at it yourself. So that, in essence, is day 2 and day 3 of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. As I said in my first video, if you are new, you have not played this game before, and you're sort of watching this video or watching other people's videos looking at it, then there is a free fly event going on throughout the entire duration of this event. So you need to make an account on the Robert Space Industries website, and then go, and I think there's a code you put in and it gives you some free ships, or it gives you a ship, and then you can fly to Microtech if you don't pick Microtech as your starting location, and you can come here and rent any of these ships, if you've seen it whilst I've been hovering over them, for 24 hours. So everything that is on the show floor that you can click on, bar a couple of the concepts like the Vulture Salvager that we saw the other day, you can rent them 24 hours, take them and go and fly them, use them in dogfights, crash them, fly them into a moon, do what you want with them, but go and have fun. I just got a text message. But yeah, go and rent these ships and go and have some good fun. This game is brilliant and you should give it a go because it won't cost you anything. So that is day 2 and day 3. I will see you on day 4. Thank you for watching everyone, and I hope you enjoyed. If you like this and think I deserve it, please give it a like, consider subbing if you fancy sticking around. If you're thinking of taking part in the game, feel free to use my referral code on screen or click the link below for bonus in-game money that helps me out as well. See you in the next one.